So last time we were learning about HTML tags, and we barely started to get into style, and the homework was kind of like just mess around. So in that messing around, yeah, did any questions come up? Maybe some weird CSS behavior, something like that? No, I love it. Make sure we shore up the current step. So the current step is, does everyone have their trial by fire? So Mike, we have the link to your deployed form. Did you change it since this, or is this kind of the latest?
That's current. It's just was individualizing color things.
Cool. And then Isaiah, have you been through the trial by fire yet?
I have not. I haven't worked on that since our first meeting.
If you're down, we can take 5 minutes and just have you go through the motions.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Do you have a repository called the trial by fire? That's the place to start.
Yes. Let me open that. Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but as soon as I push my code to the repository, it will update the hosted website. Is that correct or no?
That's ideal, but it will depend on you having the correct settings. And so rather than saying that, we'd like to verify that. So we can start with your repository URL instead of the deployed form, Isaiah, and then we can help you.
Okay. Here, I'll just screen share. That'll make life easier.
So from here, the next step is to go to the settings tab.
Sweet.
And we're deploying via GitHub Pages. So on the left, you can find the Pages sub item. Voila, there it is. Near the top, your site is live at. So from here, let's add, before we get into JavaScript world, let's do some more CSS. This looks a little bit bare bones, right? Also, can you grab this link and put it on your, like copy it on your clipboard. Go over to your repository code tab.
Okay.
And on the upper right, there is a gear icon by the word about. Let's click that. And you can drop the website there. Yeah.
Nice.
That just makes it even easier to get to. In particular for other people who will be viewing your portfolio, it gives them a quick link.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. I love that.
Cool. All right. Well, one thing we can do is mess around with Git. So does everyone have Git installed locally? Okay. And do we have VS Code? Looks like it on the local machine. So yeah, so you can open up a new terminal. You already have it cloned down. Okay, is this the same website? Hello, this is a photograph. Awesome. Awesome.
So I just have the GitHub website. I don't actually have Git, if that's a separate application.
It is. It is. So Mike, I think you're ahead on the website code, so you can do the local install thing, and we can get everyone to the same kind of like location. So you can just Google download Git, G-I-T. And the website is like git-scm.com. And then Mike, do you have VS Code or no?
No, but I can get that downloaded too.
Awesome. Perfect. So you can work on that, and we will work on Isaiah's website a bit. Isaiah, why don't you make a semantic tag for a blog article with its own heading and it's a bit of its own text?
Semantic tag.
And I don't expect you to necessarily know what that means, so feel free to Google or Chat GPT or whatever.
Just like a div.
Nope, that would be the opposite of a semantic tag.
Or span. Okay.
Div is a generic tag which has no semantic meaning.
Okay. So a semantic tag for, what did you say, an article or?
Yeah, blog articles. So the whole Trial by Fire project is like a single page vanilla HTML basic blog article, basically.
Yeah. And wait, what else was I supposed to create? I apologize.
Just like a blog article, so it'll have a heading and a paragraph or two. Let's do 2, just because in a lot of technical situations, there's a big difference between 1 and 2, and there's not much difference between 2 and 3.
Does it need to be like super populated or?
No, let's get rid of the line breaks.
Okay.
By the way, break is a self-closing tag, by the way.
Okay.
This is the article information. Yeah, just make one more p tag on line 24 there. All right, while we wait for that to build, let's, oh, that was pretty quick. I guess the green will take a moment to update, but we got the content. All right, so goalpost 2. So goalpost 1, everyone has Git and VS Code installed. We can code either in the browser or on local machine. Goalpost 2, 1 hard-coded blog article with semantic tags. I think we all have that. Goalpost 3, incorporate your favorite color into the site to give it a unique flair so that we're not doing cookie cutter stuff. Part of the homework, Isaiah, I will request that the text becomes like an actual blog article.
Okay.
But we don't need to do that now. Maybe, yeah, anything you want. It could be a hobby, or it could be something technical that you learned. Any of those are fine.
Okay.
The next step, this is super fun. We will do a rounded card style. This is just our tiniest hint of actual design. And so a card style is a very common design component that's, we use it to get the user's eye to draw to a certain area. And specifically, we want to make the blog article pop off of the background. So we'll do a color for the background and then a different lighter color for the card and around the edges. And you'll have your blog article on a little card. And that's the main thing we're going to do today. And if we get past that, we can go to forms and JavaScript. But even if this is kind of like the only thing we do today, we'll learn a bit about CSS. One thing I could ask, if you didn't know how to implement a card, what would be your first step? Miss Marcia, maybe I'll ask you. How would you go about figuring that out?
I asked ChatGPT.
Cool. All right, so I'll do the same. Let me get over to GitHub. Okay, so I will be taking this section, which is kind of already popping off the screen, and I'll be turning it into more of a card style. So I'll go over here. I have a vanilla HTML blog with an article tag. How can I make this article tag use a card style? And we'll see if it automatically implements the rounded corners or if I need to ask that specifically. Ah, okay. It gave the rounded corners. So technically you can make a card without rounded corners. It's just like relatively like unusual. We will go clockwise on my screen here. John Rosa, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I am.
So why don't you try to read this sentence here and then this bit of HTML and just give me your interpretation of what it's saying up till here.
All right, from HTML structure. Assuming your HTML looks something like this. Article, H2 card, title, and H2. P, this is some text inside the card, lorem ipsum, yada, yada, yada. Article. So it's a heading, that's the card title. Then the P is the text that's going to be in the title. And I'm assuming that article is some other content that's going to be in the card. And what we see before is just the title.
Great. All right.
All right.
Let's go over to Isaiah to continue reading. And maybe, Isaiah, you can take us through this box shadow thing.
Okay, great. So you can style the article tag like this. So in CSS, you can name like the semantic tag and then give it its styling within the curly braces. Background color is going to set the background. I'm cheating if I'm reading what they're saying. It's going to read the background of the card. Then you have the border solid. Yeah, so it gives it a border and then a box shadow, which gives it some depth. Doesn't add the shadow underneath. Kind of will either drop it. It usually drops at like a bottom right,
Nice.
And that will add some depth to it to make it look a little bit better instead of bland.
Okay, great. Let me ask you a bit about these colors. So
Yep.
You know what hash FFF is?
Like, is it an RGB value you're saying, or is
Right.
it's just white? FFF is usually white, right?
It is white. It is white, and it's not RGB. Do you know what the name for this kind of expression is?
Oh, hex.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. So that's a hex white, and then this is an RGBA. Do you know what the
Oh,
difference between RGB and RGBA is?
I don't remember now.
A is for alpha. It's the transparency.
Oh, okay.
So it's RGB with transparency.
Oh,
Now,
that's-
if I give you RGB all zeros, do you know what color that is?
black.
Yeah,
Usually, right?
exactly. So you can see how this makes a shadow. It's like black that's a little bit see-through, right?
Yeah. Nice.
Awesome. Mike, so it's given me some CSS rules. How do I put CSS in this HTML file? Like what? CSS and HTML? That's crazy, right?
Short answer is I don't remember. I
Okay.
thought you had to have an extra second file that was just a CSS and then you referenced it.
Okay, let's do that. How would I do that?
Start with Google and ask it.
Okay. And so the question is, how do I connect a CSS file to HTML? Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. The link tag, let's go. Does that sound right to you?
Couldn't tell you, so that's what I'd start with until it didn't work.
Guess and check. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. And they're saying within a head section, so let's make one of those.
So I did it in a using a style tag.
Yeah, that's great. Totally valid. Totally valid. All right, let's see if mine works. I'm actually not 100% sure that the link is going to work as written, so we will see. Marcia, can you explain the difference between using a link and a style tag for CSS?
So for the style tag, you would still put it in the head section, but you don't need another sheet or like another file, I guess. And then you can put your CSS code in that.
Within the
Within
style.
HTML. Yeah, within the head, and then within heading or within the head, you just put an open and closing style tags. And then you can put
Like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Nailed it. Y'all are cruising. So something didn't work. Bummerville. What's going on? Now I need to debug. So Mike, do you have a guess like what's wrong with this?
The first guess I'd have is it actually linked correctly. Like, was the name in the link and that you chose as the actual name of that other file the same?
I love the question. And so I just verified that, but let me walk you through what I did. I right click. So I'm up here in the link. We see the word styles. I'm in DevTools. I can right click it, open a new tab. So this is the literal file reference, and it has the CSS I expect, which validates that we linked properly. So brilliant debugging like question, Detective Mike, and we confirm, yes, it did link actually. And a second question you might not have thought of, but I thought of is, well, maybe it linked, but there is a caching issue. So I right click, empty cache and hard reload, and it still didn't change. So we're officially in weird mode. We linked it correctly, but it's not changing. Like the banana bread is just the worst thing. It's not doing what we want.
Can you override what was in the CSS file by specifying it within that div tag?
You totally can. You totally can. Nailed it. Hold on. You made an excellent point. On the same line of code is a second really, really important point. Can you find it? So what you described, Mike, is called an inline style. And it's true that an inline style will override a CSS file. Can you tell me which line is the inline style? So we're over here, and we're looking at this blue, this terrible blue color, which line of code is that inline style declared on?
Looks like 15.
Right. Is there anything else besides the inline style that would render this CSS useless? So can you okay, maybe I should be more specific.
This is for an article. The inline style was for a div.
Exactly. And Marsha had her hand up. I know you nailed it. Do you want to add anything else, Marsha?
No, I was so excited because I realized it. But I do, if it said article, I am curious, will the inline override style or the sheet, or will which one would show up? I guess you can show me.
Man, this is such an intriguing, and I'll say this is a fix. So Isaiah, we were talking about conventional commits. The prefix here would be fix. Because it's not new, I'm actually fixing a bug, and I'll call this a semantic article. Fix semantic article. All right, so this is pretty cool. Can I tell you the part that I hate, or will it make you really mad? The part that I hate is I don't like the white on white. It's like a design issue. So this is a great opportunity to introduce Peloton. Earlier you talked about monochromatic pink. So feel free to use whatever style you want, but this can help you find a monochromatic pink palette. You can also do triads. I personally don't like the tetrads, but do you. Customize it to your color, and then you will have a unique URL that will give you your theme colors.
Nice use of pink.
Thanks. I do have a question. I changed my H2 to white because I wanted the top one to be white. Oh, yeah, that's lovely. How are you doing that? Oh, Max Swift. Yeah, okay. We talked about that. But H2, is there a way to do my H2 of my articles not white?
Yeah.
Or do they all not need to be H2?
I love it so much. You're taking me to a next CSS topic. So this is what you're talking about is CSS selection. So you're talking about selecting certain kinds of subheadings. So can we put you on the spot? Do you mind Googling? So you want to select only those H2 within an article. And when I say Google, I mean ChatGPT is also fine too, or whatever you like. So your objective is to select only those H2 within an article and not those outside an article.
Looks like I could use the period for article. Does that select the article and then H2 within the article is what I'm guessing that's gonna do?
Nope.
No?
It will not work at all. You can try it though.
Okay.
Do you know, yeah, I mean, do you want to, yeah, because I'm cheating and telling you the answer. Realistically, you would try this and it wouldn't work.
I would try it and it wouldn't work, yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about why it doesn't work? Here's a JS demo. Okay, so when we're looking at their answer works in the context of this demo. And so, hey, cool, now that you're a little bit of a coder, you can read what's going on here, right? So here's their HTML, here's their CSS, and that results in this. So given this is like a perfect problem, actually. Why does this work for them and it wouldn't work for you?
I guess now that I'm looking at it, I'm curious on how it works for them because they don't even have an article in their HTML.
That's exactly the difference. So
okay.
So when they say article, clearly they don't mean like an article tag.
Okay.
Right? So what do they mean when they say article here?
Blue of the whole. It's only their first one, so this should use the article 2 H2. Oh, their class. They're selecting by the class.
That's right.
Okay.
So the period is the period character is the syntax for class selection.
Okay. So
let's do forms. I think we can clean up the CSS, y'all get it enough that you can do this as homework. So let's do forms. May I have a volunteer? You can use the raise hand, I don't know, button in the Google there.
Sure, I don't mind.
All right, let's rock
Right,
and
raise
roll.
his hand.
So if you don't mind, can you create a form that lets the user input a title and a paragraph text? So we've been making these blog articles, right? And every article has like a heading and one or more paragraphs. Let's just do one. Let's just only worry about one paragraph. But we want to make a way that a user can, the user on the website who's looking over here, we want to give them a way, not the developer, but the end user, a way to add their own blog article. And there's another semantic tag, which is called section. I recommend we put that form in a different section. So there will be like a section of the website that shows the blog articles and a different section that has the create article form.
So I'm going to create my labels for the inputs in the form and then declare what type they are, give them an ID and a name, and go from there. So type text. Name is going to be, we're going to go with title. To be fair, I did have ChatGPT give me some, give me a label or this layout. So
great.
Just
yeah, as long as you can tell us what it's doing, which I think you've been doing a great job narrating, but can you tell us what the required, what that required thing does?
So the required means that whenever you go to submit the form, that this field has to have something within it. It can't be null, which is important because we don't want them to give us, anything blank or create a blog without anything. So, and then we'll have an input for, for them to submit, which is just going to be, it's going to be like a submit button.
Let's take a look at, let's see how this looks.
Nice. Nope, it doesn't have the colors yet.
That's okay. We can fix up the colors later. For now, and we have, okay, we're doing quite well. We have 17 minutes left. Let's do a bit of JavaScript. It's that time, dun, dun, dun.
Woo.
So Isaiah, there are at least two ways to connect JavaScript to your HTML file. Do you know what either of them are?
You'd import the file. So I'd first create the JavaScript file and then import it into this. And then the second way, you could just add like a JavaScript tag in here and then create it all inside this file.
Yep, those are the two options. Do you have a preference between them?
I usually like separating my code, but for the sake of time, I can just do it in here.
Sounds good. You're doing something really smart, which is you're putting your script tag at the bottom of your HTML body. Do you know why we prefer to do that?
Because you want it to be able to run it after, or like you want to be able to do your HTML edits. Like if you had your form going after the code, or no? Is that as important?
There's two reasons. That's one of them. So
Okay.
You're referring to binding. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up making a function that connects to the form.
Mm-hmm.
And if you declare that function before the form has been processed, you might get basically a null pointer. It might say like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one problem. Another problem is the user experience. And this is the one that we typically mention.
Mm-hmm.
But the white screen for the user experience is really, really bad. So if you put your script tag up at the top, the browser is going to be loading all of that data before the user sees a screen. So they'll just see a blank white screen until the JavaScript is processed.
Oh, that's fun.
So we want to avoid that. So we put the JavaScript all the way at the bottom of the body so that the user can see stuff.
Yep.
Even if it doesn't work yet, usually we're talking about like at most half a second. Even if it's half a second, that's like concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Hydration time.
Yep.
But that's enough time that they can like look at it and it feels fast, but they're not really going to do anything yet.
Yep.
So it doesn't really matter that it's not working.
Well, how do I add that in on HTML? No. Yeah, I would do it in here. Never mind.
You can do it on the HTML. They're equivalent. So there
Oh, really?
is, yeah, you have at least 4 options. You can do what's called late binding in your JavaScript. So it's called late binding because it happens in JavaScript instead of the HTML. Or you can do early binding, which is declared in the HTML. If you declare in your JavaScript, you will need to do element selection. And if you declare in your HTML, then you will need to use the proper attribute. And when you're picking the attributes, you can use a click handler, as you mentioned. There's also the submit handler. So when dealing with forms, we prefer to use the submit handler, basically. So you would want to use a button click handler if you had a button by itself that was not in a form.
Yeah.
But because you're using a whole form, the preferred way to do this would be to bind the form submit. And you can do that early or late. I don't personally have a preference. However feels easy to you or whatever ChatGPT recommends will be fine.
I don't really know what the append.
Let's transfer it over and walk through it. We can walk through it. We can walk through it before you publish the code. That is a smart thing to do. Make sure it's safe before you publish it, right?
Yeah.
One thing, there's kind of a lot here. So one thing I want to walk through is just line by line. So let's just start with the first line.
Okay. So this is going to create, it's creating a new document. So document get element by ID blog form. It's adding an event listener to do this script, which is the submit, which we have there. Function, it's just naming the parameter, which is an event. Event.prevent default, prevent the default form submission. I'm guessing that's just saying it's keeping it from doing it without the event at default.
Yeah, we need to take a few steps back. Can you comment lines 57 through 79? Just comment them.
Yeah.
Okay. And above line 54, can you add an alert? Alert, left paren, all lowercase. Single quote, yeah, left paren, then single quote.
Oh.
And you can say hello world. And save it. This is where we start to feel the pain of working in the browser, and we want to start working locally because there's a rapid feedback loop. So what you're going to want to do is make a small change, make sure it works, make another change.
Okay.
So you can ship this and we'll wait on the GitHub runner. The first thing you want to do is make sure your JavaScript is working at all. So that's what a basic alert will do. Because you might have a problem in the actual HTML of your script tag.
Okay.
So you can stage that and push it. Okay, in this case, you don't have that problem, so we can proceed, but
yeah,
you want to break it down. The next thing is on line 55, what does the document keyword refer to? Do you know?
Keyword refer to, I mean, it's a class, it's a document class, which is already pre-saved in JavaScript, correct? That it's like, it's an already like, I can't remember, it's in the library of JavaScript. So it knows, like, it already has certain features. So then it knows exactly what you want to do when you want to do, create like this section. Maybe I'm missing the nail.
You're on the track, but I wanted to, yeah. It is built in. Oh, let's go with Mike. Yeah.
It's just a guess from some of the other things I've done. Is it similar to like a this dot where document is just saying, your index.html in this case, it's this document it's being written in?
That's right. The document refers to the entire HTML file.
Oh, okay.
And it is built into the browser. And you're right, Isaiah, it comes with a number of functions out of the box. You said there was a sentence you left hanging, which is like it creates something. Whatever it creates, it will create in that HTML file.
Because we said document? Okay,
yeah.
because we called this one. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Now here, you're writing document.getElement by ID.
hmm
So what do you think that would do? Given that this is referring to your HTML file, we want to get element by ID. So what element will that be getting? And what even is an element, by the way?
So shoot, like it's getting so what we're creating is we're creating like a blog form, so it's getting like the information to create that blog form, and the element would be that what we're getting to create. Is that correct?
Nope, pretty far off on that case.
Okay.
Can you scroll up slightly?
Yeah.
So we don't need to create a blog form. We already have a blog form. It's defined from line 39 to line 50.
Oh, okay.
So we don't need to create that. We simply need to bind it, which means we need to select it and operate on it.
An element, I mean, just for clarification, like an open and closing tag, like an element in HTML is just like a heading is an element, a paragraph is an element, a
That's
form
right.
is an element. Okay. So we're
That's
getting
right.
whatever you like by get element ID, because I think there are other ones that get element something else maybe, but I'm not sure. But like then it's gonna get whatever element you've given the ID, which you did up there, ID equals blog.info. And so it's getting whatever you named that. Is that right?
So we got one hit and one miss, Marsha. So the hit is, yes, an element is just a couple HTML tags and their values or whatever. So in this case, the element is the form, and we distinguish the element from the tag just because like there's a tag on line 39 and there's a tag on line 50, but the element as a whole has a whole lot more going on. It's actually, I can say like the form has the button, right? The element has a button in it. So now we should be able to spot a bug. So the bug is we are trying to get this form using the ID, but that ID is not used anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are at time, although I would like to go maybe 3 or 4 minutes over if that's okay, because I want to get to the part where, Marsha, we're able to not have that error when you submit your form. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I don't have I feel like a lot of the necessary elements for that, but maybe I'm wrong. Because I didn't even do script at the bottom or anything like that yet. I was just kind of in process of working on that part.
That's okay. We can wrap up, but if Isaiah has a few more minutes, or yeah, like 3 or 4 more minutes, it's the prevent default is going to fix that thing. So we can just show the problem and then show how we fix it in the next few minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
So hello world, we got the alert and let's click it. Cool. Can we go to your code?
Yep.
I mean, maybe this is like the whole thing. Yeah, let's show Marsha's, like what happens when you submit Marsha's form, and this will show you the difference about what line 57 is doing. So I'll put this in the chat here. So yeah, this happens because the default behavior of a form is to send a server request, but there is no server.
Right.
Right. So since we're doing this on the front end only, we don't have a server that we're talking to. So to avoid that issue, we say event.prevent default, which means like don't call the server.
Okay.
Ah.
All right, cool. And then yeah, we can deal with the rest of this next time. Or you can do it for homework. Great job, team. I will say we are cruising. What is this? This is our 3rd meeting, I think.
I think so.
Yes.
So getting from HTML, CSS, we did a few cool things, and we're getting into JavaScript. I think we're right on track.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you.